My name's Keegan. I've been in the IT industry since 1986. I've worked at more than 60 different organisations around the country and the world. In that time, I've learned a few things, and one of the most crucial that I've learned is about understanding how to put things together, and the essence of that is a service catalogue, and starting with a single entry. The purpose of this is to show you a simple way of creating a service catalogue. In a minute, I expect that you should be able to create your very first service catalogue entry that can be reused over and over again. And I will show you this in 5 slides. And we'll put this into perspective on how this can be used by you, your department, and your organisation. I have got a few other tricks up my sleeve that I thought I'd show you as well. So I'll introduce you to a number of other tools that I use. And this will show you how you can do your job better and even improve your personal lives. 17 slides that are just truly valuable to you, your work, and your family. These will include project management, R.A.C.I, product analysis, work analysis, process flow diagrams, the life cycle of everything. Now that's worthwhile. The work wheel, where does my time go? And on the other side, we have 2016 IT trends. Are you involved with those? 20 powerful words. These are words that you should be using every day in your writings, your communications. A boss versus a leader. What's the difference? And which one are you? What do you look for in a leader? Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Yes, my wife is a teacher, so I've had to learn about those as well. The 4 basic human needs. How to keep employees engaged. And your purpose in life. Now down the bottom, you'll see that you've got a link to my LinkedIn and my Facebook. You are welcome to join up to that. Started on this service book stuff, shall we? Okay, I sat down with someone and we're having a bit of a chat. I asked them to come up with something, and what they came up with was setting up a PC. Then we delved into it a bit longer and we realised that it wasn't just setting up a PC, it was setting up a desktop PC. And then further discussions, it worked out that it was setting up a desktop PC for a new user because they require different things to just setting up a PC or setting up a desktop PC. Then it worked out for this organisation that it was setting up a new user desktop PC in their head office in Victoria. So this will become our very first service book entry. We'll just keep it simple. And that'll allow you to create your own in very simple tasks. Started off with 5, but I had a few people and they've thrown in an extra 3 which are optional. So for this one, how a person gets a PC is the service desk receives an email. Establish the specifications, a request goes off to the warehouse, they pack it, they deliver it to site, and they install it. Now, that's 6 tasks. So, if you were to take a minute, do you think you could write down half a dozen tasks that would complete something that you do on a day-to-day or week-to-week basis? Such as setting up a new PC on a desktop. Now, once you've got that list, so just pause this for a bit. Once you've got that list, let's go through the rest of it. Now, for each of those list items, is it possible that you would know all of the resources, the people involved to do each of those tasks? A lot of them might just be you, but they might not be. They might be different people. So write that down as well beside the list. Okay. Now, the lead time. That is the time taken from when something begins to when it's completed. Now, we know that to pack a PC doesn't take half a day here, but it might take, because they've got other work on, overall it takes about half a day. So that's the lead time. So the lead time to get a new PC is 4 days. But now we throw in an extra column. What's the effort, the actual time to do the work? So to pack a PC, 15 minutes. It'd be pretty slow, but still, 15 minutes. To install a PC, 3 hours. To establish the specifications, the emails backwards and forwards, just to figure out exactly what they need, 15 minutes. So we now know that it takes 4 hours and 5 minutes of work and 4 days of time to get a new PC. Now, for each of these items, each of these line items, these tasks, we know the resource and we know the cost of those resources. So a warehouse person may cost less than a service desk technician. We can now put costs in there and we know the amount of effort. So we should be able to put a value on each of these line items. Each of these line items, by the way, a warehouse to pack a box. We might know that as a specific line item, a service book code. So we could write in a specific service book code in there for that one. And that will become a Lego block, a building block for other service book entries that other people can use. Now, I said there were 3 extra columns. This one here, in parallel. Are there any of these tasks that could be done in parallel to reduce the lead time? It's not going to reduce the effort, but it will reduce the lead time. Then, of course, are there dependencies? Do we have dependencies? This needs to be done. For example, establish the specs before you can make a request to the warehouse. That's a dependency. Can we put that in place? And finally, a waiting. Now, this is a time waiting. For example, this is to set up a new user desktop PC. Does it take the same amount of time to do 5 desktop PCs at head office compared to 1? So if we were to request for 5 PCs to be set up, is it still going to take 15 minutes to deliver to site, or it might take 20 minutes? Is it still going to take 3 hours per PC to build, making it 15 hours, or is it only going to take 4.5 hours to build 5 PCs? That's the weighting. So it might be a 1.1 weighting. So what I want you to think about here is this is a starting point. You've taken a blank page, you've created something. Is it right? Could it do with some tweaks? Sure. We can tweak it as we go. Tweak it as we gain experience. But we've actually got something down now. Something we can work with. Something we can refine. Now, we've got something that we can talk about. Well, I've used a few bits of terminology there, haven't I? So I thought best I actually put a table, a glossary in there for you. Something that you can actually look back at after this discussion and understand, oh, what did he mean by that? So we've got the SB code there, we've got the in parallel, the weighting, because the weighting is important, and I'm actually going to use that same term with a different meaning later on, just to confuse you. So this shall help you. Have a look through this, print it off, do what you think is necessary. Here we go, here's the good bit coming. How do we use this service book entry? We could use it for budgeting. We've already got the costs in there. We've got the times in there. That's perfect for budgeting. Times. So now we've got lead time and we've got effort. We could now use that for SLAs. So someone comes up to our desk and says, oh, I need you to do this. And you can say, well, yes, I can do that. Based on our experience, our standard practice, this is going to take us 4 days to achieve. So you're now able to work with your business, work with the people making requests of you, to give them realistic timeframes, realistic resource requirements. And you will actually be in a position where they could hold you accountable for an SLA. Time management, again, all these go hand in hand. If you know that you've got to do 5 PCs and it's going to take you 6 hours of effort and 6 days of work, well, now you can budget that into your schedule for the week and the month. And so can your manager. Project management. If you're doing one thing, then that probably means that you're not doing another thing. Something else that the business could use. Therefore, it has a greater priority. All of this goes into project management, along with the resources, along with the costs, along with the lead times, the effort. You're now making it possible for your manager and yourself to build projects and reuse your experience and these service book entries over and over again. Business understanding and conditioning. If you have a reliable source of information based on your experience, all written down, you are able to condition the business to say, hey, look, it's going to take this amount of time. Yeah, we can shorten it, but it's going to require so much more resources. It'll cost you so much more. It takes us this amount of time. We can't cut these lead times down. It takes this amount of effort. So with this reliable data, you can put forward very good business cases. What else could you use it for? Have you got any ideas? Just take a moment and write down any other thoughts that you've got on how you can use this. Could you have other line items in the service book? What about setting up a laptop on this occasion? Setting up a PC, a replacement PC? All of those would be valid line items, because with a replacement PC, you might have to extract data. You might have to destroy the hard disk, whatever it takes. And how could this help you? If you understand what's involved and you understand the times, the costs, the personnel, it will allow you to be more effective. What is a possible service book entry that you could create? How long would it take you to do this? Well, how long did it take us to do this one? I'm thinking maximum of 5 minutes. You could become so proficient at this. You could do a line item in a minute. Doesn't mean that it's perfect, doesn't mean that it's right, but at least you've got something down on that blank bit of paper, something to work with, something to refine. Do you need any extra columns? What's in your business that you might need? Feel free to stick another column in. Now this is an ITIL expression. Keep in mind, ITIL is just a framework. It's something there to give you guidance, to allow you to have a more strategic approach to your business. It isn't the end result, it's the foundation, the framework. So, I use R.A.C.Is for difficult, confusing situations where people don't know their roles What are they supposed to be doing? How are they going to be involved, communicated with? Are they responsible for a certain task? Where's the delineation? So, R.A.C.I stands for roles, accountable, consulted, and informed. That's the essence of it. And I've got a few links here for you as well to look this up, and we will go into this further in the next slide as well. So some reference links there, which I've found are quite good. Have a read through this, and it's all about delineation and understanding within the group who's doing what. Okay, let's get into this R.A.C.I example. So what I've got up here is across the top, I've got all the applications areas. So release manager, server manager, security, antivirus, service desk manager, level 2, level 1, applications, lots of different people, all the different roles. Down the left-hand side, I've got the actual, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve an application distribution here. What's involved in that application distribution? You've got to build it, you've got to package it, test it again in production, test it again further in production, and then general distribution. So, who is responsible, who's accountable, who's consulting, and who's informed? That's what we need to look for. So going through this list, just stick an A, a C beside them. You can't have too many informed. You can only ever have one person that is accountable. Someone's butt is going to get kicked if this all goes wrong. Who is that? And as you can see, this can be broken down on a line item by line item basis. Could even be broken down, if you wanted to, just on the top level, the application distribution level. That would be the ideal. I'm taking it further down this time, just as an example. Recommendations with this one is think big. Try not to get stuck with individual cases. Try and focus on the overall. So again, ITIL is a foundation. You can put in extra items like support and sign-off. Might be other things that you can throw in here if they're critical to your business, or that's where your business needs extra work, or if there's extra confusion. So you can throw other items in there. The R.A.C.I is the foundation. I quite often hear people doing analysis of different products, and they don't quite know how to work through the business case, filter out the rubbish and get down to what's important. So I've just put together a couple of little things here just to give you a bit of an idea on an approach. If this works for you, terrific. If it doesn't, that's fine too. But the important thing is list what's important for product selection. And that'll be from a business perspective, technology, finance, support, security, and discuss why it's so important. Understand the problem. Do a document just to understand what you're looking at, what you're trying to achieve. And then, can you put a weighting of importance on each of these items? For example, under business features, you might have certain items that are way more important than others. Then they have a greater importance, a greater weighting. And then, for each of the products, each of the solutions, write down how they rate against your selection criteria, the required features. And then at the end, tally it up, see which one comes out the best. Now that isn't the total answer. This is just a tool. The ultimate decision is going to come down to you and the business. But this should give you some real guidance because you've thought about what's important, you've considered each of the items, you've given them a rating and an overall value. Total cost of ownership is another great one to put in here. So you can put whatever is important to you in here. But take some time, think about it, understand what's important and what your rating of each of those priorities are. Analysis. Again, this flows on from product analysis. When evaluating a task in this type of environment, a small task can have a huge cost. Question is the cost worthwhile when compared with another method? We need to consider the resources, the deployment size, resource value, not just the cost. So a resource may actually cost you, say, $100 an hour. But what is their value? Their value is going to be more than that $100 an hour. Otherwise, you wouldn't bother to employ them. They've got to be adding more value in. So their value could be $200 an hour, $150 an hour. Understand that, the opportunity loss and the cost of the process to deployment completion. Managers have different ways of looking at projects' viabilities. Sometimes it's the preparation work for the future. For example, you can't have cars on a road, cars driving down a paddock. You need to lay the foundation. The preparation work is for a road to get from one place to another. So there may be some underlying thing where they're prepared to take a loss to eventually get to a goal that they're seeking. So preparation work for the future, other times it may be purely costs. This is most useful for finger in the air type cost evaluation. I've put together a very tiny spreadsheet which I will supply to you just to give you a bit of an idea. Here I've got option 1, option 2. Fix something or reinstall something. The resources involved, the number of machines, the hours required, the value, and the total cost. And down the bottom, based purely on cost, it selects the best value. And that's a very easy spreadsheet to whip up yourself. I'll give it to you later. This is something that I wanted to go through. Process flow diagrams. They fit perfectly with service books. This is something that I picked up from a business blueprint seminar I went to by Dale Beaumont. He has hundreds of these for his business. It's an online business and brilliant. I think these are done particularly well. So basically, as you build these service book entries, they can all become modules in your process flow. For example, putting a new PC on someone's desk. That's probably going to be part of onboarding a new person. So it will become just one single block in here of, okay, get a new computer for someone, get them a computer account, get them a desk, each of these. So do something up like this. There's plenty of online tools. My favourite is always Visio though. Always been a bit of a Microsoft bigot, I'm afraid. Well, the life cycle of everything. You've got to love the title. I saw this drawn up sketched on a scrappy bit of paper. And I've put it together in some colours and some nice little arrows here and there. But in essence, this was done by a friend of mine called Anton. And the reason I'm showing you this is a lot of people get stuck between the archive and death. You've all seen the rest of it, but I want to focus on archive and death here. The total cost of ownership of anything explodes between archive and death. If you have lingering technology, lingering procedures, lingering people sometimes, sitting between the post-install, the archive and the death, actually death finishing off a project, removing it, getting rid of it, wiping it from the business totally. That's what we need to see for a project that has had a useful life and is now no longer required. We've got something else in place instead. But to keep this old project around, this old technology around, increases our total cost of ownership hugely. Our support costs, we must kill these projects, kill these technologies off. We must send them to the death square and get rid of them. Archiving them is not good enough. We must get rid of them. The work wheel. Business focus and staff development. Okay, at this stage I've got a confession to make. I'm also a qualified life coach, so I've had to put something like this in. I'm interested in people as well. What motivates people? How do we keep them involved? How are they achieving what they need to achieve in life and in work to keep them involved, keep them productive? So let's focus on the left-hand side, the work areas. Personal development, professional development, KPIs. Have you got your KPIs? Have you got them written down? Have you got them plastered on your wall above your computer? Are they in front of you? Do you know what you're focusing on? If you haven't, then you should write them down. Get them in front of you. If you haven't got any KPIs at all, then come up with them. Write them down. Help your boss out a bit. Write them down. Take them off to your next annual review. Present your boss with the KPIs. Wow, he's going to be so happy because that means he doesn't have to write them. You're helping him out, and frankly, if you're writing your KPIs, they're going to be interesting for you. They're going to be good for you. So you'll be getting what you want as well. So then what I want you to do is I want you to put down your priority beside each of these items. What is your focus? So for personal development, is your priority only 3? Well, here you are doing some personal development now. Maybe it's 5. I don't know. Write it down what you feel it is right now. Then, when you're finished with that, and do that for all of your KPIs as well, then beside that, I want you to write down your rating. This is your skill level. How good are you at each of those? This is just for you. You don't have to give this to anyone else. This is just personal for you. Write down your rating there. So if your KPI 1, your priority is an 8, and your rating, your self-rating, is only a 3, then really that's where you need to get some help, doesn't it? You need to get some focus. You might need to upskill, might need to do some retraining. Then the next column over, the percentage of time. For example, if your KPI is 8 and your percentage of time is, say, 10%, and your personal development is a priority 3, and you're spending 80% of your time on that, well, guess what? It's not going to work. It's just not going to work. There needs to be some alignment there, some congruence. So you need to write that down. Okay, final column, future rating. Come back to this one. Stick this in a drawer. Come back to that in 6 months. Put a calendar entry in to come back to this in 6 months and reevaluate yourself and see whether you have improved your ratings on this, okay? Okay, moving over to the next one, your KPI work wheel. It's basically just a graphical representation of the chart on the left that we've just worked on, and the same on the right-hand side. Of business. This is the best slide I'm going to show you today. This is the one that is going to change the way you think about your business, change the way you deal with other people in your business, and change the way that you actually look at every task you do. This is it. So, the 4 P's of business: philosophies, policies, procedures, processes and practices. Yes, I know, if you count it up it's 5. We'll stick with the 4. This is something I've come up with, and you'll see that you are N. So your position is N and you do procedures. Your leader is the policies, N-1, and your leader's leader is N-2, and they do the business philosophies. And your staff carry out the processes and practices, and they're N+1. In everything you do, always use the 4 Ps. As an employee, your role is nearly always to make your leader look good. By the leader looking good, they look good to their leader. This makes things far more favourable for you. That's you at work. If your leaders look good, then things are good for you in a work environment. And you spend a lot of time at work, so that's a good thing. The 4 Ps work at every level of an organisation. Always start with the corporate philosophy. If you understand that, then developing the procedures from the leader's policies becomes far more focused and useful, allowing you to sell them to your staff so the processes and practices are conformed to as well. Okay, so take a look at this one again. This is all about making your group look good and making life easy for you at work. Far more productive, getting the resources you need. Where does my time go? Now this is something that I've put in for you that I know will help you out on a personal as well as professional level. Are you getting as much done as what you need to get done? Are you getting the right things done? Are your priorities right for the amount of time things are taking? Now, there's an old saying that I have: without reliable data, you're merely another person with an opinion. This is all about getting the data down and getting your focus. So what I've done is I've set up this little chart from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, and you can fill it in. Fill in when you're sleeping, when you're eating, everything. Stick in your meal breaks, exercise, travel, family time, recreation, meetings, personal development, thinking time. So when you finish there, I want you to look at it and say, where is my spare time? Am I getting the right amount of sleep? Normally it's 7.5 hours. Am I getting this? What can I cut back on? What would you like to add into your week? Who are you associating with? How is the idea of the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with going? You may not know what that's about, but we'll get back to that if you like. An interesting experiment with this is, without reliable data, you're merely another person with an opinion. What I'm doing here is getting you to write down the data. Put down everything that you're doing on a week-to-week, a standard week, the best you can, of course. Once you've got that, you can then make changes to it. You can say, oh no, I shouldn't be doing that. Or you can say, oh, I'm working too much out of the office. and I need to address this. Do I really need to get these tasks done? Are they worth cutting into my life with? Is there someone else that could be doing these tasks? Can we work in a smarter way? It's all about balance, productivity, and creating a good future for you. So what I recommend is filling this out. You don't need to show it to anyone. It's totally personal to you. Sticking a date on this, and then coming back to it in 3 months' time. Doing this again every 3 months. Have you been able to address the issues that you want to address? Are you more productive? They're the questions that you should be looking at in the future, okay? Great thing with this Excel spreadsheet in the corner, you can duplicate tabs and have it set up for another few months' time as well. Okay. Is your life purpose? These are some of the personal development programs that I work on. These are some simple little diagrams that have come off LinkedIn and I find very good. So what is your life purpose? You've got to find that little red square in life. Sometimes you can be out in the outer circles, but try and figure out how to get into that red square. So take a look at this, try and put it into perspective for you. Write down your passions, write down what profession you're in. Fill this in, just create a little chart and fill in some details for this. Try and focus in on what is your purpose in life. And you never know, you might get closer to it, but you're not going to get closer if you don't try and focus on it. Oh, this is a crazy chart. Business communication. And it's got stuff going everywhere on this one. So I recommend you sit down and you just read through it. Focus in on each little bit. It's got a couple of URLs, top, middle, bottom right as well. Take a look over there. But it's all about focusing on the why, the how, and the what. Trying to solve your problems. Okay? So take this offline and just study it for a bit, okay? Came across this, I think this is brilliant. This is all about giving you the right language, which shows back on the previous slide of communications. It's all about language, giving you the right language to make you powerful and respected within your business. But I must say, I have doctored this slide just a little bit. It used to be 20 powerful words to use on a cover letter. Now, some organisations may not appreciate that, so I've whited that out. But these words are great. So when you're writing a project report, you initiated, you planned, you managed. When you go into your annual review, you have notes that say that you trained, you strengthened, you persuaded, you organised, you oversaw. When you're writing an email out to the organisation, you can say that it's been planned and is led by, has been promoted by, and it has solved. These are really powerful words, words to be using all the time. So throw a few of these in to your communications and then throw some more into the next communications that you do. Again, this is a bit of a busy slide, but the 4 basic human needs for engagement by Randy Connolly. Look him up, website top right. This is all about how to keep your staff involved. Be the leader. How do you keep your staff involved? How do you keep them focused? How to make them more productive by giving them skills, producing better work, being the leader, giving them a sense of worth, making them feel competent and challenged as well. So that's what this is about. take note of all of this. Are you doing this for your staff? Are you being the leader? What makes an employee highly engaged? There's a whole list here. Someone has talked about their progress. Someone encourages their development. They've been praised recently. They have opportunities to learn and grow. They have a best friend at work. Their manager cares about them. They view their job as important to the company. Their opinions count at work. Their colleagues are committed to quality work. They are able to do their very best every day. They have equipment needed to do their job. They know what is expected of them. Are you helping your staff with this? Is any of this relevant to you? Are you engaged? What can you do about it? Should you be talking to someone as well? Hierarchy of needs. Now, my wife's a teacher, a qualified teacher, and I've heard about this for the last 20 odd years. Never really got into it myself, but then I realised I'm using it all myself at work anyway. So I came across this slide and thought this is brilliant. And it's how it is applied to employee engagement. Highly engaged, engaged, almost engaged, not engaged, disengaged. And it's all about understanding the importance and the motivators behind that. What can I do for others? Do I inspire others to do their best? I love working here and I'm a high flyer. That's the highly engaged people. So have a read through this and try and figure out where are you, where are your staff, and how can you help your staff to be better? How can you help your staff up the pyramid? Leadership. 10 things to look for in a leader. High standards, personal ethics, big people without pettiness, guts under pressure, resilience in defeat, brilliant brains, not safe plodders, a capacity for hard work and midnight oil, charisma, charm and persuasiveness, a streak of unorthodoxy, creative innovators, the courage to make tough decisions, inspiring enthusiasts with trust and gusto, a sense of humour. This guy David Ogilvy, you would have seen him on a previous slide, very good stuff. My question here is, how many of these are you able to tick off? Now that they are in front of you, how many do you think you could work on? Are you the leader that you need to be? Are you the leader that the organisation needs? You can be. Asked about the difference between a boss versus a leader. There's definitely differences. And this slide is a good representation. A boss drives their employees, depends on authority, inspires fear, and talks about themselves, says I all the time, places blame for any of the breakdowns, knows how it's done, uses people, takes credits and commands and says go. Whereas a leader coaches the employees, depends on goodwill, generates enthusiasm, says we, fixes the breakdown, shows how it's done, develops people, gives credit, asks questions, and says let's go. I want to go back to the fixes the breakdown. A leader isn't a weak person. That fixing the breakdown might take in a lot of the boss's side of things, but it's only one component here. It's not the main component as on the left-hand side. This one's out there for the technology people. These are the technology priorities for 2016 by Gartner. Read through that list there, the top 10, and ask yourself, what are you working on? Are you working on these yourself? How can you get involved in these? If you keep working on some of, or at least are aware of the top 10 priorities for CIOs, you will put yourself in a very good career position. You will be working on that N+2 philosophies, getting the runs on the board, keeping your focus to stay at the top of the field, stay current. That's what this is about. So this is produced every year. Get onto it, put a note in your calendar, look it up. Gartner's top 10 technology priorities for CIOs. Going through this with me, I hope that I have provided you with some great tools and ideas on how to achieve your desired results much better, to give you some facilities to do that. We've covered a lot of different personal and professional strategies here. Given you an easy Service Catalogue Entries build process, which should put some things into perspective for you, along with their use by you and within the organisation. You've created your first service book entry. You've analysed your time. You are now in a position to adjust your lifestyle. Outstanding tasks. No, you're not getting away from this scot-free, I'm afraid. I want you to go back and use the current service book entry that you've created today. Actually go and use it. Put it out amongst your peers and use it. Get some practice. Tweak it, change it, make it better. I want you to book in 5 minutes a day to create a new entry, another entry every day. Just keep creating them. Keep putting them out there. Keep refining them. Publish these entries. Give our clients some understanding of what you do and manage your clients' expectations. My details are down there. I've got a LinkedIn account, a Facebook account, and there's an About Me as well. And down the bottom of the page, there should be some links as well to each of these. So hook on over. I'm always adding more stuff and hope to be of benefit to you now and in the future. All the best.